Welcome to the workshop on creating graphics using tactile macros in CorelDraw version 2020. These tactile macros were created by Debra Graham in collaboration with transcribers. The purpose of creating these macros was to increase the speed of production and to bring consistency in our Braille production. CorelDraw doesn't come with these macros. You will need to contact us at PRCVI to get these macros. At the end of the webinar, we will send you all the files needed for installing tactile macros and a booklet which has all the information needed to create tactiles using CorelDraw macros. In this webinar, I'll show you installation of tactile macros and tactile macros command bar. Getting started in CorelDraw 2020. Style tab for making measure lines, texture, shapes, angle signs, etc. Make graphs like line graph, Cartesian graph, bar graph, and histogram using tactile macros. Draw a number line using tactile macros. Draw a pie chart and a spinner using tactile macros. Draw an angle and a triangle using tactile macros. Draw a clock using tactile macros. Draw a protector using tactile macros. Draw a graphics calculator using tactile macros. I won't be going through all the steps needed for installing tactile macros and tactile macros command bar. You can refer to pages 3 to 7 of my CorelDraw macros booklet. We will also send you video clip created by Colton on how to install macros on your computer. When installing CorelDraw, make sure CorelDraw is closed. When installing CorelDraw macros, make sure CorelDraw is closed. If you already have a previous version of macros, delete it before installing a new version. Before installing the tactile macros, go to CorelDraw 2020 folder on your C drive. Right-click on the folder, select Properties. Under Security tab, change the permission to Full Control. The files that you require to use the macros are tactilemacros.cdws, tactile macros version 13.4.gms, TM clipart 1 CDT, and TM style sheet. To install tactile macro command bar, open CorelDraw. Place your cursor over the command bar at the top of the CorelDraw window. Right-click. From the pop-up window, select Customize, then Workspace, and then Import. In the Import Workspace dialog box that is displays, browse to the desktop where you copied the files. Select tactilemacros.cdws file. Click Open. Click Next. On the next display, make sure Tactile Macro is checked. Click Next twice, then Finish. Right-click the command bar again. In the list displayed, click Tactile Macros to turn on this command bar. So this is this cursor TM, that's your command bar on your CorelDraw. Okay, now open CorelDraw 2020. Skip the sign-in window. Select New from Template from the Get Started window and click on My Templates. Or go to File on the menu bar and click on New from Template. Click on the template named PRCVI, template for CorelDraw 2017 inside My Templates window. Then click on Open. Click on Open Folder Location if you have saved this template in a different location on your computer. Template saved in this path, see users, username, document, Corel content, templates is shown in My Templates window. PRCVI template is created keeping in mind needs of transcriber. This template has default for page size 11 and 11.5 inches, swell Braille font, frequently used textures, lines with arrowheads, dots for graphs and maps. Let's look at tactile macros. It's very easy to use. When you hover over any of the tabs with the mouse, it tells the use of that macro and how to use that particular macro. If you forget to do a step, it will ask you to do that step before using the macros. Click on TM icon on the toolbar. There are 4 tabs on the tactile macros menu: Styles, CorelDraw, Braille, and Prelims. Prelims tab defines setting for the document. It has 4 buttons: Preferences, Braille code /type, Add pages, and Doc info. Click on Preferences button in Prelims tab. From the pop-up window, select the Braille font, Braille code, Braille type for the document. We use Swell Braille font with font size of 24 point and line spacing of 111%. Braille code can be literary, Nemeth, or UEB Braille. And Braille type can be contracted or uncontracted. Choose axis line, arrowhead style, open or filled for the graphs. We use open style arrowhead for the graphs. Select or deselect option of creating binding edges on the document. Select or deselect to save these settings for new document. Click OK. These options should be set before drawing a tactile on a drawing page. This is the first step before using macros. You can also select Braille code from Braille/Braille type button. This button sets the Braille code and Braille type for the document. Click on Braille code /type button. On the pop-up window, select the Braille code or Braille type and click OK. Add page button. It adds drawing pages to the document. You will also use this only if you want to add multiple pages in the document. You can enter the number of pages you want in a document. Doc info button. It gives information about the document. This document remains active. Sorry, it gives information about the document. So here it says the active document was saved as a CorelDraw 17 file. So let's look at the Style tab. Under Style tab, we have a number of buttons which has specific function. These macros work on a selection that you make before clicking the macros button. We can draw arrowheads, measure lines, textured line, textured shape, geometry, scale, symbols, blank space, dot size, outlining, binding edge using these macros. We will look at each one of these in CorelDraw demo at the end of the PowerPoint presentation. QDraw tab. QDraw macros create a diagram or part of a diagram based on parameters that you fill in on a form. Some of the macros on the QDraw tab will start in modify mode if you have selected a drawing previously created by the macro. Under QDraw tab, we have number of buttons for drawing a line grid, number line, pie chart, spinner, bar graph, histogram, triangle, angle, clock, protector, dot grid, and graphics calculator. The next tab is Braille tab. Button on the Braille tabs are Braille Tools. Braille Tools correct Braille font size, convert old Braille to new Braille font, check for hidden Braille, change all fonts to uncontracted Braille. Number Maker and Alphabet Maker makes numbers and alphabets in Braille. Dummy TN button adds a text box with TN indicators in cell 7.5. Position Braille button aligns position of Braille on a page. Greek letter button adds Greek letters. It also has a tab of adding some graphics such as zigzag for a graph or a star or a hollow dot. Key list makes a new key or reformats a key. Key check and a flag key button are used to check a key and flag keys which might be missed in a document. So CorelDraw Graphics Suite 2020 is available from www.softchoice.com for an educational price or from CorelDraw website. Please email transcription@prcvi.org for tactile macros files. And I hope you were able to print the sample document we had sent. I'll be using images from that document to make tactiles using CorelDraw macros. Now let's open CorelDraw 2020 and tactile macros to see how tactile macros work. So I'll be closing this presentation here, and then now I'll start CorelDraw. I'll have to do stop and share. Okay, this is how your CorelDraw window opens up. So first step is go to Get Started. Either you go to New from Templates and open the PRCVI template which we have provided, or you open a document by clicking on Open Document and click the file you want to open. So I have opened a file named Samples. And this is your TM CorelDraw macros. This yellow with TM written on it is the CorelDraw macros. I will click on it. So you see, this is your Tactile Macros version 13.1. It says on the top. Now let's look at the Styles tab first. In the Style tab, let's look at arrowheads. To draw arrowheads on a line, I have to draw a line first. So I'll go to my Bezier tool and draw a line. I'm drawing a straight line by holding on to Control key on my keyboard. And I've drawn a line. I'm going to zoom in. So I'll go to my Zoom tool and zoom in. I'll go to my Pick tool and select the line. So on the property bar, you can see the length of this line is 8.258 centimeters. If I want to make it 10 centimeter, I can go here and change the line to 10 centimeters. So my line became 10 centimeters. Now I would like to change my line strength to let's say 3 point. So I'll change my line width to 3 point. Now, to make the arrowheads, I will click on the arrowhead macro. So the option which comes up, arrowhead type, open or filled. The second option is arrowhead position, whether you want arrowhead at the start of the line, end of the line, or on the both end of the line, or you don't want any arrowheads. So I would like to make an arrowhead with open style. So I'll leave it checked. And I want my line to have arrowheads on both the sides. So I'll check on both and I'll apply. So you see that a line is made with arrowheads on both the sides. Okay, let's draw another line. And we go to pick tool and let's make it 4 point and let's make it filled arrowhead type. So I'll check arrowhead filled and let's make it at the end of the line and click apply. So you see the difference between open arrowhead type and filled arrowhead type. I don't need this macro here anymore, so I will just go and close it by clicking on this close button. Okay, so next, let's look at measure line. To do that, I'll again draw a straight line by going to my Bezier tool. Holding on to my control key, I'll make a straight line. It doesn't have to be a straight line, but I'm just drawing a straight lines. Okay, so now I'll go and click on measure line. So the measure line is used when you want to show a distance between from one object to another object or from one point to another point. Okay. Now the third one is the textured line. For that, we again need to add a textured, add a straight line. So add a straight line and click on textured line. So there's 3 types of line we have for making a textured line. So let's look at this dotted stuff. I select that and it makes a dotted line. If I'll go here, it will make a zigzag line, but I have to make a new line to make that a zigzag line. So let's get out of this and draw another line. And make it zigzag. So this is how zigzag line is. I'll make another line. And make this with rotation. But I don't see any much difference between the rotated zigzag line and the straight zigzag line. Okay. So we covered all the different type of lines here. Now, let's make a textured shape. So let's draw a figure, a rectangle, and we'll fill it with the texture. Click on texture shape. So there are all these options for textures. Remember last time I showed you how to make texture from the template, but this time we will use macros to make textures. So I have selected bar chart and I'm going to click on apply. I'm going to zoom into the texture. So this is what bar chart texture looks like. If I want to change the texture to a beach wave, I can select that and apply. It's easy. You just have to select the texture which you want and it will just change. Some of the texture might look similar, but they have little differences. So this is beach desert. Okay. And bricks. Clouds. Diamonds. Dry earth and tissue. Fence. Fish scale. Flesh or skin. Forest. Goblets. Honeycomb. Manhole cover. Meteor. Marsh. Rain. Sand. Waves. Solid. Solid will be solid black. Solid 45% is, it should look like gray, but I don't know why it came as white. And unraised is also white. And then water. And woods and trees, I think. So, yeah, so these are all the textures. But if I click on colors, although they are not colors, it will still be texture. But, so these are, again, colors are different textures. It's not a color. Okay, close. You just have to remember one thing. When you are doing textures, filling in a texture, you have to make sure that your object is close. Let's say if I'm drawing an object, just take any figure, right? So if I'm drawing like this, I am here, right? And I go to my texture fill and click on part and apply. You see it's not applying a texture on this object because these nodes are not joined, right? So in order to make a filled object, the object should be closed. So what do I do? So I will go to my pick tool and up on the property bar where it says close curve, click on that close curve. And now your object is closed and it will be filled. Sometimes when we are doing like tracing and we are just clicking here and we are very close, we think we have closed it, but it might not be closed. And you will be thinking like, how come it's not like filling up? How come you sometimes get frustrated? The reason is because it was not close. So you will just go to pick tool and go to your close curve and click there and it will be filled. Okay. Now when you have done all the filling of the texture, you can close the texture bar. Okay. Now, this at the bottom of the macro tab or window, there's a page add button. So I'm clicking on that add to add a page because I ran out of my space on that drawing page. Okay. Okay, let's look at this geometry button. What it does is it will have options of adding angles and sides to a triangle, rectangle, or an parallelogram, and what kind, the figures in which you need angles to be shown or sides to be shown. For that, you need to draw a figure first. Okay, so let's look at the sample on page 1. This one, page 1 of the document which I have sent, you might have printed. So let's look at how I'm going to draw this figure and use my geometry macros. So geometry macros won't work if you use common shape tool to draw shapes. You can use polygon tools, but with polygon tool, you cannot draw a right triangle. So what I'm doing is, in order to make this right triangle, I'm going to trace over it. So I'll go to my Bezier tool and make a right triangle. Holding on to Control key on my keyboard, I'm drawing straight lines. Okay, and I'm then going to, so you're not seeing it because it's black. I'll change the color to red to make it's more visible. So you see, I have drawn over the scanned or copied diagram. Okay, so I'll make these lines now by again going to my Bezier tool. Click here, and click at this point. So let's see, and I've drawn the lines here. Okay, now I'll draw this angle. So for that, I'll go to my geometry tactile macro, click on that tactile macro, and click on angles sides. So a pop-up window says that, opens up. Click add single angle sign. If you use shift and click, it will add double angle signs. Control and click will add triple angle signs. In this case, we only have single angle sign. So I will just go and click where I want that angle. So I'll just click. Okay, now let's make this one is the right angle. So I'll just click here to show the right angle. Okay, so if you want to make a double angle sign, you just have to click. Although in print, it is not showing it, so I'm not doing it. But to show you, I can just click shift, and that's how angle will be made, double angle. Okay. Now, in order to escape from this macro, you need to press the escape key. So the escape key cancels the angle macro. So I will press on escape key on my keyboard. So that window goes away. Now I have to add the sides. So I will go to my sides. And there are two options, hatch mark and chevrons and label sides. So these straight lines are called hatch mark. So I will select hatch mark and I will add hatch mark here. I will add hatch mark here. I will add hatch mark here according to the print. Okay, that's done. Now, according to the print, we need some labels. Again, to get out of this, I have to press escape key on my keyboard to get out of this macro. I'll escape, okay? And it says label sides. Let's see if it will label the sides, but I need to select the object first, okay? And now I will say label sides. So it adds label, not necessarily where you want it, but there are some labels here. This is B, C, and A. What was this? Okay, right? So I'll just delete it because these are not the labels which I want. either I delete it or change these labels. Let's say I would change this label to C, capital C. So I will go to my text tool here at A, and I'll delete I'm using my keyboard because I know ASCII key. So that's why I'm using my keyboard to make the Braille labels. Now I made that label C. I'll click on the label and move it where it is on the print. C is right here, okay? And this one I can change to Q. Okay, and make it Q. And I'm going to delete this A. I'll make a new label for A. So I'm pressing comma and A on my keyboard to make A. Then I'm pressing comma and M to make capital, oops, what happened? Oh, M, okay. And again, comma and P for P and capital comma, and then B is capital B. And you can just use your mouse to bring the labels where they are closer to the points. Okay. Now there's 74-degree written here. So what I will do is I'll number hatch 74 is G and D, then caret and J is your 74-degree in Braille. Because I know the ASCII key, I can do it, okay? Now, because I cannot fit my label here, I'm bringing it outside the figure, but I need a guideline. So I will go to my Bezier tool. Sorry, I'll go to my Bezier tool and draw a line. Straight line. Our guidelines should be 1 point. So I will go to my property bar and make it 1 point line. Okay. And then we have to make a dead line. What do you call blank space around this black line? So I will just go to this blank space on my macro and make a blank line space around this black line. Okay, you see that? Okay. Okay, that is what I would do for the figure on page 1. But I want to show you more about this geometry macros. So let's say I'll make 2 parallel lines. Let's say the figure is like this, 1 line here and another line here. You must have seen this kind of diagrams in your math books. And I want to add a chevron. So I will click on add chevron. And this is how chevron looks like, and chevron. Okay, this is how chevron looks like. Let's say in your print, the chevron is on the other side. Direction is on the other side. So you will click again, the direction of the chevron will be changed. Okay, and if I have to make double chevron, I will press the shift key and I will make double chevron. If I want triple chevron, I'll press control key and make triple chevron. And if I want to change the direction of these chevrons, I'll click again to change the direction of the chevron. And at the end, I want to get rid of these chevron marks. I'll just escape and I'm out of that chevrons macros, okay? Okay, let's see if I covered everything. Let's look at angles. Okay, I've shown label, add equal angle indicators. Okay, let's look at equal angle indicators. Let's say we have a triangle. So I'll just go and make a triangle. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so let's say I want to add equal angle indicators. So what are equal angle indicators? So the options here are solid dot, open dot, and an X. So if I want a solid dot, I'll just click here. If I want an open dot, I'll press Shift and click. I know my triangle is smaller than my dots. And then I'll click Control for X. So these are the dots. I'm just showing you the options, what is available in Tactile macros, okay? You must have seen all these dots in your math textbooks, okay? So now Escape key will get me out of this macros, okay? So I've shown you everything, angles, add equal angle indicator, label corners, okay. This one is saying show degrees in Braille. If I check this mark, check this, then it will make, give degree sign in Braille, okay? Okay, everything is covered. Okay, let's close this macro now. Okay, let's look at what is the next macro. Let's make a diagram. Let's make a rectangle. What does this scale do? It will scale it down or scale it up. So if I click on the scale button, so if I want to make this diagram 50% down, so I will just do 50% and click OK. It will reduce the size of the figure, okay? If I want to make the same figure 220, I will just click 120 and it will scale up. So it's just for resizing the object or a figure which you have drawn, okay? So I'm adding another page. I'm making so much on one page. Okay, next one is symbols. So these are the, and you see if I keep my mouse on the symbol, it tells me what this macro does. It says choose a symbol to add to your diagram. So let's say what symbols are available here. So the symbols here is graphics. They are talking about this graphic to add to your figure. This zigzag we use in a graph, okay? So if I click on this, it will make zigzag for the graph, okay? If I want a star, I can click here and move it wherever it wants. It is anyways drawing at one point only. It's drawing it on top. So we can always click and move our objects wherever we want. And then this will draw a cross. You can move it back here and it will draw hollow dot. Okay, so these are the options here. And then close. There's another option here which says Greek letters. So what does this do? It adds Greek letters. So this is alpha. You can see this is alpha, beta, and so on. So it's doing all this in, it's doing delta. Okay, all the Greek letters is adding. Okay, now close. Okay, now let's see how to make a dot size. So for that, you need to draw a circle. So if you drew a circle here, I'm drawing the circle, and dot size. Dot size options which comes are plotted points for cities, large or scatter plots. This is for graphs or maps. Then grid dots, small cities, small scatter plots. So this will change the size of the circle to, let's say I have selected plotted points, and it will make the circle into plotted point. So it became plotted point, okay? Again, if I click draw a circle, and I can make a dot, grid dots, or I can also customize my dot, how big or small I want, okay? So that was the option for dot size. The next on this style tab is round. So what does this do? Outline rounds. So it will make rounded lines. At the end of the lines will become rounded, okay? So if this is my line and I want these ends to be rounded, I will select my line and click on round. So you see the lines became rounded. You can again increase the round. If you increase, you're increasing not the round, but you're increasing the line width. So it became 9 now. If I do 10, 9.5, it is going by 0.5 up. So this is for changing the line strength or line width. Okay. Okay. Now you must be wondering what is this blank space and where it is can be used. Okay. So let's see where we use the blank space. So I have drawn a rectangle, let's say, and I have filled in using the texture shape. Let's say I've selected bar chart and I'm going to apply. So I've got a texture here. I have a label inside this texture. So if I add a label, so it won't be clear for the student to read it. So we need a blank space around this label. So after you have written a label, I've written B, I'll go to my blank space and click on white. So this became wide. If I click on narrow, because it is going outside my rectangle or a box, then I'll click narrow. So it came inside. The other option is you could have made the rectangle bigger, okay? You can make it bigger and you could have used your wide angle, okay? Or you can also go and set the dimensions for that blank space, set, and then you can make it bigger or smaller. So you can change the width of the blank space and click OK. To be consistent in your Braille work, we generally go to wide and select wide for our blank space, or narrow, but mostly it's wide because it gives nice distance between the label and the texture. Okay. I'll close this window. And okay, now let's go and do our next one, which is a CorelDraw tab. I'll add a page. Okay. So I've added a page. In CorelDraw, we have lots of options. The first option which we are going to look at is line grid. For that, if you can refer to page 2 of the document which I have given, you can have a look at the line grid, the image of the line grid. So when I hit line grid, a new window opens up. So you have to fill this form according to your graph on the print page, okay? So the print image which I have given you has shown that that is a line graph. So we have two types of graphs, Cartesian graph and line graph. The image which I have given you is a line graph. So I will select line graph, okay? So next one is how many number of horizontal lines are in a graph? So there are 9 horizontal lines. So I will go and type 9, okay? Then the second one is hide horizontal grid lines. We won't check this because in our print, there is horizontal grid lines, okay? And in our graph, we also have x-axis, so that's why it's checked. And the next one is at horizontal grid line. Where do you want the horizontal grid line or x line to be? You know, x-axis. So according to our print, our x-axis is on line 1. So you have to count the lines from the bottom of the line, you know, bottom of the image. The last line is your bottom line. So that is your number 1 line. And according to the print, we have right arrowhead. We don't have left arrowhead, so that is left unchecked, okay? According to the print, there is no zigzag on our x-axis, so we will leave it unchecked. And according to the print, there is tick mark on second grid lines. Its tick mark is not on all the grid lines, so that's why we will leave it to 2 grid line. Now we are about the tick labels. So the value at the origin is 0. An increment for each tick line. We are here talking about the horizontal labels, okay? So increment for that is 2. And we want all the labels. So that's why we'll say label every 1 tick, okay? Once you have done x-axis, now you will go to your y-axis. So a number of vertical lines on y-axis is 11, okay? 9, sorry, it's 9. Oh, sorry, it's 10. You have to count it. Okay, it's 10. Okay, it's 10. And we don't want to hide vertical lines. And we want to draw y-axis. And at vertical line, our y-axis is on line 1, okay? So you have to count the lines from the left line, okay? Now draw top arrowhead because we have that in print. We don't have bottom arrowhead, so we will leave it unchecked. We don't have zigzag on y-axis, right? Okay, and we want a tick mark on every single grid line. So we will select this as 1, okay? And now for the labels, value at origin is 0 and number for each increment is 5, okay? And label every 1 tick because all the tick marks are labels, so we will do it 1. I hope you are following with the print, how I'm filling this form. Okay, when you have filled this up, you have to see equal spacing, horizontal and vertical. So how your graph paper is it equal spacing? Then you will select equal spacing. If it is stressed, then you will select stressed. But in our print, it is equal spacing, so we will select equal spacing, okay? Okay, the next one is tick style. So it's saying you have a lot of options how your tick should look like, tick marks. So this one is straddle axis. Straddle axis is that it will go above or below the y-axis or x-axis, okay? Left or below axis, and right or above axis or no text on axis. So in our print, although there are no text on axis, but we like for Braille users to have straddle axis, okay? So that's why I have checked this one. And then this one is single origin label. That is where you have your 0, right? 0 for your graph. And then ticks and labels allowed at grid boundary, okay? And if you want to draw a sample plotted line, you can draw that. Let's check this and I'll show you how it will draw a sample plotted line. And the next one is save these selections for next time, okay? Yeah, I like to do that in case I messed up. I just don't have to go back and change everything. I can just change my fills and go from there. Or if I need the same graph, I don't have to write these again, okay? And click OK. Now I'll click OK. So a graph is drawn here. This graph, this plotted line, everything is done by the macro. I don't have to draw each and everything one by one. So macro does create the whole line graph. The only thing now I have to do is, first of all, move my graph within my guidelines here so that it is within my drawing page. Although it's on drawing page, but I have some margin set up where I want my tactiles to be. So I will just select the whole graph by drawing and rectangle around it using the pick tool. Okay, so you see a dotted blue line and it will select the whole object. And now I'm going to move it here. With my arrow keys, I'm just sliding it within my guidelines. These are my guidelines for the diagram, okay? And so you see the labels are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 according to the image, okay? And the labels here on x-axis are 2, 4, 6, 8 according to the print. And they are not all the labels, not all the ticks on the axis line. There's after one grid line, it's separated, okay? So that's how the graph is done. But according to the print, this plotted line is not, doesn't have an arrowhead. So I will go to my pick tool, select the line, and on the property bar, I'll go up on the property bar and change my arrowhead to straight. So you see now the plotted line doesn't have an arrowhead. Either you can do that, or when I was making the graph, I could uncheck for the plotted line, and that way this line won't show up, okay? So according to the print, the line is not where it should be. So I will select my line, go to my shape tool, okay, and bring my line according to the print. So when I'm moving, I can see my line is not straight. I see it's becoming curved, right? So in order to make it straight, I will click on the line. And if you remember from our last video, go and convert my line to a straight line. So I will go to the property bar and convert to a straight line by clicking on the line. Now my line has become a straight line, okay? And it is where it is supposed to be. So now other thing which I need to do is, because this line, we add a blank space for our lines where they are crossing. So it's crossing. So in order to make it clear for our Braille using students, we will make a blank space around this plotted line. For that, I'll go and select my plotted line and go to my styles and click on this blank space white. Now you see there's a blank space added to this black line, okay? And now there's a label X here. So I will go to my text tool and add a label here, comma, and then X on my keyboard will give me capital X, okay? Now this one is the dummy key. So I will go and change. Either you go to your Duxbury and make the label for this one, or if you know ASCII key, you can go directly here and change the label. I'm not saying the ASCII key what I'm typing, but you just have to learn. Okay, I think I'm doing it correct. Yeah, so this is velocity m/s. And now we have to go back and change this one. It's time. You can always go to Duxbury and do the labels, copy paste. Okay, so this is time in seconds. So this is your line graph. Okay. So let me add a page now to show Cartesian graph, although I don't think I gave you a print copy to refer to, but I'll just show you how the Cartesian graph look like, okay? Quickly, I'll add a page, okay? And now I'll go to CorelDraw and again line grid. And this time I'm going to select Cartesian, okay? Cartesian has quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So that is Cartesian graph. So let's keep this numbers same. The only thing you will need to change is because at Cartesian graph, the x-axis won't be at line 1. It will be at, let's say, at line 3. And let's change the vertical y-axis to, let's say, 4. And we'll keep everything same. And we'll click OK. Let's get rid of this draw plotted line to just show you. If you uncheck this, there won't be a sample plotted line. And click OK. So this is your Cartesian graph. I'll just move this here. Okay. What you're seeing here is the binding edge. This is only for binding. It won't like print. It will print, but it won't be dark enough to go through the embosser, fuser, and it won't get raised. But if you are like, if you don't want this binding edge, you can go here and where it says binding edge, left, right, or remove. So I will just remove it. If you want to add it, you can again click on left and add the binding edge, okay? And remove it. Let's remove it so that you can, there's no other distraction for you. So you must be wondering, what is this? This is numeric passage indicator because we have taken out all the number signs from these labels. So numeric passage indicator and numeric terminator at the end of the graph. Okay. Now let's go to and see number line. So I'm going to add a page by clicking on my macro toolbar here. And it added a page. I'm going to remove this binding edge and I'm going to make a number line. So I'll click on number line. If you go to your page 3 on the document which I've sent, if you see the print number line, we'll fill this form according to that print number line. So the type of line is horizontal, okay? Number of ticks are 11. Draw arrowhead, right arrowhead. There's no arrowhead in our print. There's no left arrowhead in our print, so we will uncheck. And label at the left tick is 0. And increment for each tick is 1, right? And we want label in every tick, so label every one tick. So we have filled up this form according to the print and we'll click OK. So a number line is drawn here. Again, it's going away from my margin. I'll just move it within my margins. Okay. So a number line is drawn. Now, according to our print, there's a circle on 7. So I will just go to my circle, ellipse tool, and draw a circle or oval, whatever. So I'm not drawing within it, but I can always move it. So I've drawn an oval. I'll go to my pick tool. No, first I'll go to zoom and bring it closer so my eyes are not killed looking at these small items. So I will go and drag my oval over the 7. Okay, but you see this tick mark and oval are overlapping. I want a blank space around my object, or I can make it smaller, but it's still touching, okay? So for that, I'll just go to my styles, blank space, and make a blank space around my oval. So you see now it's not touching with my axis, with my tick marks, okay? So that is what was on page 3, number line. Now, the third one is pie chart on CorelDraw, okay? I'll add a page. I'll remove my binding edge. And let's draw the pie chart, which is shown in the print. For that, see what, if I click on pie chart without drawing a circle, it will give me an error message. It says, please draw a circle the size of the pie or spinner and select it and try again, okay? So I'll click OK. So I'll go to my circle tool, ellipse tool, and draw a circle, okay? And now I will go to my pie chart. Click on pie chart. Another window opens up, okay? So here, the options you have to put for the values are percent or amounts. So according to the print, is showing the percentages, okay? The first percent I'm going to add value is 21. The second one is 15. I'm just using numbers on the keyboard, okay? It's like filling any other form. Similar way, I'm just putting the numbers. Third value is 6. Fourth one is 25. And value 5 is 33. Okay. Now after that, the total entered value is 100. That's what it should be. Okay, if I'm doing 34, it will say, no, you're wrong here. It should be 100. So you go back and change it to 33, okay? And now you have to do texture, whether you want pie chart to be untextured, standard texture, texture alternate segment or bars, or you can use color palette to make your own colors in the pie chart. Okay, but mostly in pie chart, according to the tactile guidelines, we don't use textured in a pie chart. So we will select untextured, okay? And the option is, for Braille labels, do you want labels on the pie chart or you want percentage on the pie chart? In our print image, there is labels. So we will say percentage, which show, and we have check mark to show the percentage sign and save these selections for next time. Yes, and click OK. The magic comes. There is your pie chart. Okay, but in print, there's also more labels. Like for miscellaneous, it says MIS. This is your 21%. Okay, so we need to add MISC. So I will click on this. I'm not able to add the labels because what macros does it has grouped everything together. So we need to ungroup this. To ungroup this, you will go on the property bar. Up here, you see it says ungroup objects. So you can click on the tab here and it will ungroup the objects. So now if you see, it's still clicked. I can see that this is still grouped together because I'm not able to separate. That's how you say that this is still grouped together. So some of the items are still ungrouped. So I will click one more time. I am trying to separate the labels away from this pie chart because I need to make changes on these labels. So now if I click on it, my label is ungrouped from the rest of the pie chart, okay? Now I can go and add my label. So I will go to my text tool and bring my cursor here and I'll write MISC 21%. Either that, if you want to bring 21% down, you can bring it down by clicking enter and then move your label away from the diagram, okay? Similarly, you can change all these labels. I'm not going to show you how to change all the labels now because it will be taking more time. So you can go and make changes according to the print, okay? Okay, next, let's go and see the spinner. So I'll add another page. Okay, for spinner as well, you have to make the circle first, okay? So you will draw, when I hover my mouse over the spinner, it's telling me draw a spinner. This draws a spinner. So this will all tell you what these tabs do or what these buttons do. Okay, let's quickly look at the spinner now. So I'll draw a circle. So if you can look on page 5, that's the spinner I'm drawing. So I've drawn a circle. I'll click on spinner, and according to the print, there are five segments. So I will go and make it 5. Sorry, I clicked too fast. 5. And again, these spinners have to be untextured. We don't use textures for the spinner, but sometimes you need to. According to the question, you might add the texture. But in our case, we won't use the texture because we are going to add the labels. So textured, so we'll make it untextured. We want labels, we'll say it will create labels, dummy keys. So it will create dummy keys because we have labels in our diagrams. So we'll select dummy keys. And our pointer is arrow. So we'll click on arrow. In some cases, there's paper clips. You can select paper clip. So it will make a paper clip pointer. In our print, it's arrow. So we'll select arrow and we'll click OK. So you see, spinner is made, but our spinner is not, our pointer is not where it's supposed to be. So again, we need to move our pointer. To do that, we will have to ungroup it because macros make everything in a group, okay? So ungroup. Go up here on the property bar and ungroup. And let's see if it's ungrouped. Yeah, it's ungrouped. Now this is going to be a little tricky, I think. Okay, so I will go to my shape tool Let's see. Nope. I generally don't use this one. I make my own. I delete my arrow and make my own arrow. This time I'm trying to, okay, because it's grouped. Okay, now I'll go to Shape Tool and bring my arrow to this segment here. Because I was not able to move because it was grouped with this white dead zone here. So that's why I was not able to see, right? But I need to bring this as well, this red, this blank space. I will go and either, you can go and delete this blank space. Select this and just delete because you don't need that blank space here. So I will just go and delete this one. Okay, that's how arrow is. And then again, you can go and change your labels. It's grouped together. You cannot change the labels. So you will go up here and ungroup. Again, one more time. Now your label is separated. Now you can go and change the label. It says orange. Okay. Similarly, you can change all the labels. Okay. Let's move to the next one. I think I have to speed up my process here. Okay, let's add a page and remove this. Now we are looking at bar graph. Okay, so bar graph is on page 6. Click on bar graph. And now fill in all the information according to the print. So according to the print, values are in amounts. So we'll select amounts. It says percentage or amount. We have selected amount. So let's see. The first value is 4. The second is 3. Second is 3. Then 2. Then 7. Okay. So there are 4 bars. So 4 values. Okay. And there's no 5. So no value for 5. So I will make it 0. I don't need to write 0. I will just leave it blank. Okay. And bar graphs usually have texture. So we will generally use standard texture. So I will click on standard textures. Okay. And there are no labels for the bar. There are labels for x-axis and y-axis, but there's no label for the bar itself. So we will do no labels, okay? And click OK. Another window opens up. In this one, you have to say what kind of bars are in print. So in our case, the bars are vertical bars and number of ticks on the value axis is 8. Hide grid lines. No, we like grid lines for our Braille using students, so we will leave it unchecked. Value at first tick is 0. Increment for each tick is 1. We are looking at, oh sorry, this one is 0. We are looking at y-axis, okay? Increment for each tick is 1, and we want to label every one tick. So I will click 1 here. And range is 0 to 7. It's saying this. Horizontal axis doesn't have arrowhead, doesn't have zigzag. Vertical axis doesn't have arrowhead, doesn't have zigzag. So we will click OK. Okay. Now your bar graph is made here, and you can change these labels. These are not grouped together. So you can just change your label going to the text tool and copy and paste from Duxbury. Okay, let's go to the next one, histogram. Okay, so again, according to print page 7, we will fill in the values for histogram. So this time again, our histogram is values are in amounts. So we will click it amounts and the value is 2, 3, value 2, value 3 is 5, 12. I can use tab bars to go to different tabs here. So I'm clicking tabs to go to put the values, okay? $13, 6, tab 4. Okay, so it's 2, 3, 5, 12, 10, 20, 27, 13, 6, and 4. Okay, so we entered all the values for the bar and we want to make it standard texture and we don't have labels for the bars. So we'll no labels and click OK. Click OK. What? There you go. Huh, did I do something wrong here? What? It's not according to the print. What messed it up? Oh, my values. Okay, let's try one more time. Let's try one more time. I'll add the page. Histogram. Let's put in the values. It was correct. 2, 3, 5, 20, 27, 13, 6, 4, 10, 30. Okay, because number of ticks on value axis was 7. I did 8. Okay, because I forgot to change this. So this in the second window, number of tick on value axis is 7 because I'm trying to rush. I forgot to change this measurements here. And value at first tick is 0. Increment for each tick is 5, not 11. Okay. And now we have to label every one tick and everything looks good. And number of bars in each group is 2, not 1, 2. Okay. All right. So this was the error which I had made. I forgot to change the increment for each tick here. Okay. All right. Now it looks fine. Okay. And now you can change the text and the labels here. Okay, there's so much to cover that I'm trying to rush now. Okay, next one is clock. So I'll add a page here. And let's draw a clock on page 8. So click on clock and just write your values. So according to this print, clock style is hour marked. It doesn't have a minute mark, so I will just do hour marked, selected, and show hands on clock, yes. According to the print, it's 4:45. So 4:45, and it doesn't show the second hand, so it is unchecked, and I'll click OK. So it draws the arrowhead, the clock with numeric passage indicator and numeric terminator. Okay. Okay. Next one. Okay. Next one. Let's add a page. And remove this. Okay. Now we have to do a triangle. Let's go and do triangle. Triangle is a little trickier, but let's do it. Triangle. I'll click on triangle. So a new page opens up. Your sample, my file was here, sample, This is different, but as soon as I click triangle, a new page, or sorry, a new file open up. It's not even a page, a new files open up, right? And then it gives you instructions here, how you can draw a triangle. So in this case, it says to draw a triangle, use this triangle to specify the shape of the triangle that you want to draw. You must specify 3 dimensions, sides or angles in degrees. So you can do 3 sides, you can do 2 sides and 1 angle, or you can do 1 side and 2 angles. And if you are doing 3 angles, adding up to 180 degrees. So you can choose any of these options here to make a triangle. Okay. The next thing is you have to position the values close to the angle or to the center of the side. Run this macro again to draw the triangle. The hint is the base of the green triangle determines the size of the new triangle. If you want a smaller result, shrink the size of the green triangle. Okay, so let's do that. Let's make a smaller triangle. So I will click on this green triangle and I will make it a smaller triangle. I'll just, okay. And now I need to put the values. So let's say my triangle has, go to your text tool to add the text. So let's say my triangle has, let's make this 30 degrees, okay? So closer to that, I'll just type 30. Come on. Okay, so I typed 30. Let's make this 70. And let's give this a side. Let's make it 5. I'm just writing any numbers in here. And after you have done this, you again have to click triangle. So you will go back to your triangle macro and click on it. So you see it has made a triangle on a different file, which is shown vertically. I can go to my window up here and tile it horizontally side by side. So this became smaller. I don't actually need this page again. What I can just do is, I will just, since this is all selected, I will just go copy, or I can just drag it right here to my drawing page. Okay, so I just dragged from that page, from that file to this file. And my rectangle is here. Sorry, triangle is here. Okay, and now I can go and close this file. From going on top and clicking on the X, I can get rid of this page. Okay, it's asking me, do you want to save this untitled one? I'll say no, and it's gone. Okay, there you are. So this is the triangle made by the macros. If you don't want the labels, you can click on the labels and delete those if you don't want it. Okay, let's say if only one label was shown, you just can delete the labels or delete the angles according to the print. Okay, done. Triangle made. Now, let's go and make an angle. Add a page. Okay, remove. Okay, add an angle. So I'll click on angle. It says type the size of the angle in degrees or draw the angle. If you draw the angle, the macro will calculate the angle size. Click OK. Okay, this time I want to draw the angle. So I will go to my text tool. Let's say I have a 45 degrees angle. I'll just type 45 and I'll click angle macro. So an angle is drawn with angle macro of 45 degrees. It didn't put degree sign, but you can go and add the degree if you want according to the print, okay? And let's say now I have made an angle. Oops, sorry, I should not have used this tool. I'll use my Bezier tool. To draw an angle, let's draw an angle. And this time we want this angle to be measured. So I have drawn the angle. I'll click again at the angle macro, and it will tell me that my angle is 64 degrees, although it doesn't put the degree sign, but it's saying the degree, okay? The next one. Now let's look at protector. Okay, protector. Click on protector, and just according to the print, sorry, I don't have the print sample. I didn't send you the print sample. Anyways, we'll just do, let's say my protector was showing 45 degrees, and my protector has inner number scale in which 0 is at the right side. So there's two options how you want your protector. Outer number sign, 0 is at the left. And let's say my protector has tick marks all degrees. So I'll select these options according to my print and click OK. Okay, a protector is made with correct angles. Okay, so you just have to fill in the forms. Okay. Okay, what's left now? Okay, dot grid. I need another page. I think I'm just going to delete this. Okay, let's look at dot grid. Click on dot grid tab. And again, according to your print, you can put in the value. Let's say you have number of horizontal lines, 6, number of vertical lines, 5, and you want to make isometric dot grid, click isometric dot grid and click OK. So now you have isometric diagram. Okay, this is what isometric is. Okay, now let's make graphics calculator. For that, you need to make a rectangle first. So I will go to my rectangle toolbar and select rectangle and make a rectangle. Okay, let's make a rectangle. And then click on my graphics calculator. And now put in the values according to your print image. So let's say horizontal axis line has number of ticks 11. The axis intersection is at tick number 6. That is count from the left. And then vertical axis, number of ticks on the vertical axis is 9. The axis intersection is at tick number 5, count from the bottom. And our print doesn't have arrowhead, so I have not selected top, right, left, bottom. I have not selected, and I'll just click on OK, and it will make a graphics calculator. So this is your graphics calculator. But you have to put in the labels. Macros does only this part. The further, if you have to add lines and anything, you have to make that yourself without using the macros, okay? Now now let's quickly look at Braille tab. In Braille tab, as I told you, Braille Tools. In Braille Tools, you can correct Braille font size, you can change old Braille to a new Braille font, you can make all the selections according to the need of the Braille, okay? I won't go over it. I won't take more time on this because I have to show much important needed questions. Okay, next one. So let's quickly look at what is, not this one, add a page. Okay, number maker. Number maker will just make numbers according to your needs. If you want to add the numbers, just add the numbers. Starting number is 0, increment for each is, let's make 1, and ending number is 10, and click OK. So it will make the numbers, and you can drag and put numbers wherever you can. Depending on if you want to use number for the labels, you can make labels this way too, okay? And similarly, alphabet labels does the same thing. It makes labels in alphabets. Let's do A to F, and it will uppercase, and click OK. So it will make labels. You can just drag them wherever you want to drag them, okay? That's this part. Now let's look at this prelims tab. So this is important because before you start making tactiles or using macros, you need to come to this prelims tab and set up your preferences, okay? So it will check for fonts and check for other things. So let's say, because we use Braille font, Swell Braille 24, we will select that. In case you want 25 Braille point, you can do that. If you have Tiger Embosser, you can use Braille 29 point, okay? And you need to select Braille code, whether you want to use UEB, literary eBay, name it, whatever you want to select your Braille code. And whether you want your Brailles to be contracted or uncontracted, select that. And also this axis arrowhead style, whether you want to use open style or filled style, you can do that. And I can always uncheck this. This should creating binding edge, so it won't create binding edge when I add pages to my document, okay? So this setting has to be done before you start a document, and click OK. Okay, I think I covered everything on my macros because I need to show more stuff. I will now go to the sample, which is on page 9, because it was requested by someone that if I can show how to do this diagram. So this is basically, you can use shape tools to make the shape, or you can just do the tracing. So I'm just going to do the tracing over this diagram, okay? So I'll go to my Bezier tool and do tracing over this diagram. I'm just going tick, tick, click, click just over this diagram, okay? So this is done. Now I'll go on my pick tool again, because one object is done. I'll go again to my Bezier tool and make another shape. Let's make triangle. Okay, with Bezier tool, I'm drawing all the shapes, okay? I'm not being perfect here because I'm in a rush. So I'm just showing you. Okay, I'm not being perfect here. I'm just making shapes, okay? This is basically, you are just using shapes and filling them up. So let's say this shape is, I will just go to my texture shape and just fill them up. So let's say this rectangle, this triangle, or whatever, parallelogram, whatever this is, trapezoid, is shown red. So I will just, let's say, select fence, and I'll just fill it up, okay? And my rectangle is, my triangle is different color. So I will select my triangle and make it, let's say, bar chart texture, and apply bar chart. Then I'll bring this triangle down. Okay, I copied and pasted it. And then because it's upside down, so I will go up here. This one says mirror horizontally, but this is not mirror horizontally. This is mirror vertically. So I will just click on it and it changes the direction. Now I have a rectangle, sorry, triangle here. Okay, now I have this one is different color. So I will change the color, let's say, to clouds, and make it clouds. So it's a different texture, okay? So you can move it and copy paste here, okay? And make this one is same, copy paste here. And we have to make another shape first. It's this shape here. So I'll again trace it over, let's say, okay? And make it a fish scale. Let's make it fish scale, okay? So different textures. And this rectangle is here. This one is here. Okay. I'm just moving them apart, a little bit apart. Okay, basically that's what it is. All right, you just move it closer. I'm not making a perfect one right now. I'm just showing you how it can be done. Okay, now because I have to show you about the map. The next one is map. Let's look at map. So on page 9, I have given you map of Africa. So first of all, we need to make a key for the labels because the labels won't fit in the diagram. So we made a key. So we made a key for Central Africa, Southern Africa, East Africa, West Africa, North Africa. Okay, so this was your print, and this is the key because key comes before the actual diagram. So it needs a page. So I've done that, and this is your map. So using your, again, whichever tool you prefer from your toolbar. If you want freehand, you can use freehand. If you want Bezier, you can use Bezier. So let's do use freehand to make this island. So I'll make this island here. I'll just trace over it using freehand. So I'll click here. And I'll just use, I'm not going to be very perfect because I have to show so many, we don't have much time. I'll just quickly using freehand. I'm just going over the image which I have copied from the textbook or from a PDF file which was scanned. Okay, so I used freestyle and went around the island. So now I have to make a texture. I have to make it white, unraised. So this will be unraised, so it will be white. Okay, that's what it's. Similarly, I've already done, because I knew I won't have that much time. I have already done around this boundary of Africa. Okay, I've traced it around because I knew I won't have time. So I've done this, I've shown here, I've shown this. Now, after you have done all this boundary, traced all these boundaries, and you have, now you need to make this internal lines here, which should be different than your boundary. So you will go and trace around here and change the line from on the property bar to, let's say, any of the dashed line. So let's make it dashed line. After you have done tracing of this boundary, all the boundaries, right? And made this dotted line and put in your labels, like this was North America, let's say this was NO. Okay, you have put in your labels. Okay, you have done this. You will go and make this white. You have to make it white. I'll tell you the reason once I've done it. So you have to make this white, okay? After you have done all the labels and all the lines, make it white. And then even this one should be white. All these islands should be white. The reason we are doing it is because we have water shown at the bottom. So what I'll do is now I will make a rectangle or boundary around the label according to the print. Okay. And I will make a water texture. So I will go to my textures and select water and click apply. So now what happened is the water is on top of the map of Africa. We want to bring it down. So I will select this, my rectangle. And if you remember, I told control page down, or you can go to control page end will bring it to the down, or you can go to objects and go to order and go to back of the page. Since I've already done it, it's gone to the back of the page, okay? Now we have to get rid of the original image which we have brought from the PDF, okay? And I've selected that and I'm going to delete it. Now you see you have a map of Africa. The water is at the background and the land is on top, okay? And this is how it looks like when it's all done, okay? Okay, I think that ends my presentation. I think we just have a little time for question and answer, so I'll just stop here, Adam.
Sure, thank you so much, Seema. That's an incredible amount of information. I know that many of us will be going back and reviewing the recording. I'm going to go back to the top and just call out some of the questions that came in while you were presenting, Seema.
Sure.
Will the macros work with Corel version X7?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Mika had commented that the fence and wave patterns don't really raise the texture when she runs them through the PF. So that's noted.
Yeah, it could be because of earlier versions, you know, when sometimes they change from version to version, it might not work. I didn't test all of them when new version of CorelDraw came. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Seema. Next is a question from Nicole. Do you have a go-to cheat sheet for ASCII codes?
Yes, it is, I think, at the end of the document, which we'll be sending, or I can send them again.
Great. Okay, we'll include it. Nicole will include it in the we'll send everything with the recording. Okay. Tara had asked a question that I thought I could take care of myself, Seema, just about the quote and double quote, not translating it with ASCII. And just, can you tell me if I was correct? That's need to turn off the smart quotes feature in Word.
Yeah, in CorelDraw, you have to do that.
Okay.
And I have shown that in our previous webinar.
Okay.
She can go and check how to do the correct option.
Great. Okay, thank you. So Tara, it's in the first webinar. Next question, if we have guidelines for the graphs, is there a way to change them? For example, the default textures or the default arrowheads or even the Braille. So if you're transcribing in CBFU versus UEB. So I guess the question is more around how editable are the features in the macros?
You can, you know, if he's talking about UEB and Nemeth and all that, you have to make the preferences first.
Right.
You know, if you don't do that, then whatever Braille code you have selected, it will do in that Braille code. But you can always go and change the labels, but it will be much more work.
Right. So you could personalize, you could change it based on, you know, what the macro generates. It just would be more work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let me just scroll down. Question on how do you use the Smart Fill feature?
Smart Fill. I don't use Smart Fill feature because we have macros. They do such a good job that I don't go to Smart Fill. We just use the textures which are on the macros or on our templates.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Hazel asked, the bar graph that you showed us, can you rotate the bars from vertical to horizontal?
Yes, you know, the window came up before. You can select whether you want those bar graph in horizontal or vertical.
Right.
So
okay.
That information comes before you make even graph. So.
Okay, so that's something that's selectable before the graph is generated.
Yes.
Great. Boy, Seema, we're just going down the line, the lightning round here. Okay. With the texture style, can you rotate the orientation? Some style like scale, can you rotate the orientation?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm not curious. Hazel, if you could drop some clarification in on your second question, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, someone shared the ASCII chart from the Teaching Visually Impaired website. Thank you. And another question, if you wanted to fill in one of the countries, how would you fill it in? So on this map in front of us.
Oh, then you just need to, you know, create, oh, I deleted that, right? Okay, let me go. Okay, let's say if you have this part, right? I filled it up. I've done like gone over it. I can just go and let's make it fence. Then it's made fence. So you just have to enclose that object, you know, enclose that shape and just fill it up.
Okay, thank you, Seema. Next question relates to CorelDraw X6 because our templates don't work with that version. Are the textures able to be sent separately so that they can be added to the template for someone using X6?
Oh, you know, X6 is very old template. I mean, CorelDraw, and
Right.
the type of textures they use is different than what they use now. These are called vector scale textures.
Oh.
And I think earlier was called 2 color bits or something like that. So those textures come up differently. We can make a template for you specifically who has asked for X6 only, you know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that certainly.
Yeah.
So Jamie, if it's something we can do, Jenny, if it's something we can do for you, we'll do our best. Okay. And Sky's just asking for, further stuff. Yes, Sky, this is something we do every year in the spring. And so if you have specific feedback of what you'd like to see, definitely send us an email on that transcription@prcvi.org email address that we dropped in early on. So Hazel's come back with some clarification. The fish scale, the curve was to the right. Can we have the curve going to the left?
No, you cannot change the texture the way it is. The texture will be the way it is.
Right.
You cannot change the, there's a way to do it, but I have not fiddled with it, so.
Okay. Okay, so
yeah,
textures are the way they are for the most part.
Yes,
Yeah.
you cannot turn them around.
All right, well, everything else is in the chat that we have here is just thanks and appreciation for all this incredible information, Seema. Thank you so much. We will be editing up our recording, putting the caption track on, and sending this out as soon as possible. I know I've already received some emails with people asking when the recording will be available. And the answer is as soon as we can get it to you.
Yeah, because I was at the end, I was thinking, oh, I don't have much time. I have to go faster and faster because I think people were also more interested in how to do a map. So I really wanted to cover that as well. So yeah. Thank
you, Seema. Thank you for making time for that. And yeah, all right. We appreciate you all coming to join us today. We appreciate you, Seema, for just your incredible expertise.